The KDKA Sports Desk is brought to you by Xfinity.
Welcome back. We talked football at the top of the show. We were talking about the Steelers getting ready for their final preseason game. Meanwhile, on the other side, the other team that practices on the south side, Pitt, they're getting ready to start their season this weekend. And, of course, it is their home opener Saturday night against Virginia. And the man leading the offense is probably expected to come up big. Kenny Pickett is entering his second season as the Panthers starter. He's talked about extensively what he's done during the offseason and during fall camp to get ready for this upcoming game against Virginia. Now, it's worth noting that last season, Kenny Pickett helped lead this team to a Coastal Division championship, and they're opening the season with a Coastal Division opponent. This is a Virginia team that they beat on the road last season, but they did that with a heavy dose of running the football. I guess the question remains, will they do it with running the football? Will they do it throwing? Will they do it with a balance? Head coach Pat Narduzzi has already talked about being able to do a little bit more of both and have more balance from that perspective, and Kenny Pickett will have a lot to do with that. Let's shift over and talk some baseball. Over in Philadelphia, of course, the Pirates lose another tough one, as Paul was joking in the last segment. Seems like every time you turn it around, the Phillies are scoring left and right. Tonight, Mitch Keller is the man who gets shelled by Philadelphia. However, a little bit of good news on the Pirates side. Josh Bell hits his 34th home run. Starling Marte hits another one for the Bucks, but another tough loss on the road, this time against the Phillies. Now, Paul, let's get back here into Pitt. Paul Zeise, of course, joins me in the studio. Let's get back into Pitt here. There was a lot of discussion among colleagues of ours about the expectations for Pitt this season. There's a little chats between some of us. And we were talking about picking Pitt's record for the season. And the more I thought about it, I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at the games that I think they can win and the games that I think they could lose. And I kept coming back to it. Even if I would say, oh, maybe they win this one and maybe they don't win this one, or maybe you can change this around, I kept coming back to the same number. It kept coming back to 7-5. But I'm curious what the number is for you as far as what their expected record is for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think 7-5 or 8-4, right in that neighborhood is absolutely
that's
where I would have them.
Like the optimism side of me is 8-4.
I mean, I would say, that's to me probably about where this team is or should be looking at the roster. They've got a schedule, if you look at it, if they can beat Penn State or Central Florida, and that means they're probably going to go 3-1 in their non-conference,
right? Then
maybe you get to 9 wins. But I think probably 8-4 probably is what I would say is the max for this team.
I would agree. Only because of the division schedule and the conference schedule, and they have problems beating so many teams. Not only in their conference, just teams in the Coastal. It's just that becomes a problem for them, beating North Carolina, being consistent against Virginia Tech and all those teams that they have to deal with on a yearly basis.
Well, if you think about it, the problem Pitt has always had is they don't win all the games they're supposed to. Every year they lose 1 or 2 games they're not supposed to lose. If you look at it, you could break the schedule down really simple, to me at least. There's 2, Central Florida and Penn State, that are they're going to have to really play really well to win. There's probably, I would say, 4 that they better not lose.
Right.
Delaware, who is it, Toledo or Ohio or wherever it is.
Ohio University.
Yeah, Ohio,
Georgia
Delaware.
Tech, you better not lose.
North Carolina, you better not lose. Duke, you better not lose.
It's not to beat North Carolina.
But my point is, those are 5 or 6 games, so there's 2 on one side, 5 or 6 on the other. That leaves 5 or 6 that are toss-up games.
I think that's a fair way to put it.
And here's the thing: they haven't beaten North Carolina, but if you remember, North Carolina now has Mac Brown, which means they went from that high-tech, that high-tech Larry Fedora offense that gives Pitt all kinds of fits.
A little bit more of a spread offense, a little bit more of a modern offense.
To whatever Mac Brown's going to run. So I actually think that it might actually help Pitt that Mac Brown is there.
It's weird. I had this discussion, I think it was with Cale Berger on 93.7 The Fan. We're having this discussion that a couple of years ago, I felt so much more confident about the Coastal as a division because you had coaches like Pat Narduzzi. You had Justin Fuente, who just got in there, and Bronco Mendenhall had just gotten there, and Mark Richt had just arrived. You look at those coaches and go, with these coaches, this should be a better division. And then you look at the results and you say, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. Well,
Mark Richt is already gone.
I would say the jury is out on Narduzzi still.
Yep.
Fuente has been very disappointing, and if you look at how he's recruited, I think that thing's destined to end at some point.
I think you're right.
Bronco Mendenhall's done a good job.
I think he's the guy that's overachieved of the group.
He's done a good
honestly.
job. I mean, Cutcliffe does a good job with Duke, considering all things considered.
Huge David Cutcliffe fan. Huge.
Miami, Mark Richt he was a burned-out coach who just his heart wasn't in it. I do think they have the right guy now. I know that sounds crazy. I do think they actually have the right guy now. I think he's going to be able to recruit.
I'm impressed with Manny Diaz.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to recruit at the level that they need to recruit.
Yeah.
He's kind of for lack of a better way of saying, he's kind of a badass. And that team is going to take on his personality.
I think they have already.
They're always going to be the most talented team in that division.
Can they score is the question.
Right, but you understand what I'm saying?
That's going to be it.
They're always going to be the most talented team in that division.
I think that's a fair way to put it.
And
I think especially considering the fact what they have to draw from as far as their own backyard for recruiting.
And he's going to recruit well.
Agreed. Let's talk a little bit more football. Let's go to Joe in Greensburg. Joe, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, I think that they let Josh Dobbs go. They're making a big mistake. That guy has so much to offer. He not only could throw the ball, he has touch, and he runs. He can run. He scramble. McDonald got to step up his game. He needs to look a lot better than what he has been.
We're not going to see Vance McDonald in the game, but thanks for the call. Vance McDonald's not playing tomorrow night. We're not going to see anybody on the first string tomorrow night. That's not happening. And it's the preseason, so I don't expect Vance McDonald to do much in the preseason anyway, but maybe that's just me. Considering the fact he might be the only tight end with some value right now.
Yeah, they're not going to play, but either way, I mean, I think what he's saying is during the regular season, he's going to have to step up and be better than he's been.
He wasn't too bad last year, though.
Yeah, the biggest thing with him is staying healthy.
Exactly. If he's healthy and in the game, I'm not worried about Vance McDonald.
Yeah, he's
the least of my concerns in that offense.
Right.
Well, not the least, but one of the least.
Right. I mean, that's the big thing with him. Can he stay healthy?
And as far as Josh Dobbs goes, I don't think it's a matter of whether or not they're going to keep him. I think it's a matter of whether or not he has value to another team.
Right.
Same thing with Mason Rudolph. Which one of these guys has value to another team that needs a quarterback? Because we know every year there's at least one team in the NFL, and one is really being nice. There's probably half a dozen every year that could at least use a backup quarterback.
Yeah, there's no question. So you just got to see, who it is. And my thing is, I could see them keeping them both, to be honest.
So could I. And if for no other reason than because there might not have been a market for either one of them, which maybe they didn't get the compensation that they want. But if you're looking at it from the standpoint of having that position to become deep perpetually, even if it's not this season, even if it comes to pay off for you next year, just to have those kind of assets on hand, then maybe it's worth keeping both of them for one more year. If for no other reason, just because of the value of having two of those guys that have been with your team for a couple of years now as your backup quarterbacks to your franchise guy who you signed to a 3-year extension. If you're looking at it that way, then it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that Rudolph is the guy they think is their quarterback of the future. But to me, I think there might be more value in keeping Dobbs around for another year, just in case.
I think that's fair because we know in the NFL, one play, one injury makes all the difference. We'll take another break. We'll try to get another call or two, maybe a tweet when we come back. Stick around.